Joy Lab.
Hey everyone, my name is Tonya and I neglect my garden. So I make sure the soil is all ready, I scatter some seeds, then I set the water on automatic, and after that I kind of just get busy with other things. So I realized that I have this. They're green onions. I have a lot of green onions. What am I gonna do with all these green onions? Well, I already passed them around in Sunday school, so I took them and shared them with my neighbors also. So now I have all these green onions. So today I'm going to show you how I turned this into freezer meals so that we can enjoy the green onions even after the season is over. Now you notice my green onions are big. I told you I neglected my garden. So usually when you buy them at the store, this is how they look. They're about, less than your pinky perhaps. And these are actually longer than what you buy at the store. Typically they're about to here. But this is what I got from my garden. It's fatter than my thumb. They're huge. So are they still good? Yes, they are still good. You can see when they get bigger, they aren't as bright green. They get a little duller green, and they have these kind of like white marks on them. So they're just not as tender. But we're using them for freezer meals, and when you use things for freezer meals, especially fresh vegetables, they do lose some of their texture in the freezer, so they won't be crisp. So you can only use these in recipes you're going to bake or cook afterwards. You could sprinkle them after they're frozen. You could sprinkle them on your scrambled eggs, or we can mix them into casseroles later, or what we're going to do now. So I'm going to show you 2 recipes for the freezer, for freezer meals, what to do with all the excess, if you even have excess after that, and then 1 recipe of something we can do right now and eat, because why freeze everything when you can enjoy it today also. I spent a lot of time washing and cleaning and picking away all the yucky parts, and I did this outside because I don't want all that good soil just going down my kitchen sink. So I did that in the yard, and so we're gonna set these up so we can put them on the barbecue someday. We'll freeze them now, and then when we want to, later on we can go out and take a pack out of the freezer and put it on the barbecue even without defrosting it. That would be just fine. So over here, in my family there's 4 of us. When we have barbecues, often we have friends over, so I'm gonna do 4 times 4 packets. So I'll do 4 packets of 4 each. 16. So over here is heavy-duty aluminum foil, and I wrote grilled green onions on them, and you grill 5 to 7 minutes. You don't have to defrost them. I should write that down. So grilled green onions do not defrost. Grill 5 to 7 minutes. These are going to get soggy anyway as they're grilled. They're not going to be crispy because we're grilling them with butter and garlic. So if you defrosted them first, they'd get even soggier. So we'll leave it like that. Okay, I have the writing side down. This is basically, we're gonna make little foil packets with 4 of the green onions, put a little butter, put a little garlic. If you wanna dice your own garlic, that's fine, that's your way to do it. I'm just gonna use the jar garlic, some salt and some pepper. How much? I'm just estimating a little bit. All right, so we'll cut off the ends and I'm gonna make them, oh gosh, how much is that? Is that 8 inches? And then I'll save the rest for our other recipes, because that's about a reasonable serving on a plate. So when people are over for a barbecue, they're putting lots of food on their plate, and if the green onions are this big, they won't have room for all the other good foods. So I'll make them about 6 to 8 inches long. I'm just gonna do 4, one set of 4 to show you. And you notice I kind of tried to find green onions that were similar size. So I'll take the rest of these and I'll do them in a bit. I'll do these 4 with you. The green onions from the store, you can probably just line up all together and cut at the same time. Mine kind of curled a bit, so it's a little harder. And I think I'll take it right about there. We're saving these for other recipes. And you can see where the writing is right here. So I'll put my 4 little green onions right there. Give us a little bit of butter. That's all I'm doing. Maybe even too much, but who knows? It'll just drip on their plates anyway. And make everything else nice and buttery. And a little bit of garlic. How much? Who knows? That sounds about right. With these jarred garlics, they say a ½ teaspoon to 1 teaspoon is the same as 1 clove of garlic. Then some pepper. And some salt. And that's that. So it looks like I made this too long. And seal it up tight. And it's ready for the freezer. I'll go ahead and do my other 4 and then freeze them. Okay, I'm done with that, but you were probably noticing something that I didn't notice until later. I didn't write how many or serving size, so I'm going to put the number 4, the word 4, grilled green onions. So that way I can decide if my daughters, my teenage daughters, are having friends over. I can decide if I'm going to serve 1 each, or know that teenagers are likely not going to eat grilled onions. If I have a bunch of adults over, then I'll make sure that I have enough for 1 each, because it's more likely that adults will try these wonderful, soft and garlicky, buttery grilled onions. Okay, these are done. The next thing we need, the rest of the recipes take chopped up green onions. So nothing to do but get started. You can be picky, but then you'll be tired. You'll be doing this for too long. It's unfortunate that I can't use some sort of machine to do this because there are a lot of green onions to do. I mean, just look at all of that. And they're making me cry. So I'm going to freeze them. Oh my goodness. I'm going to freeze them on a pan in a single layer. Let me get those for us right now. Oh my, those onions are strong. Okay, so here's my Teflon sheet on my pan. And I'll put these in the freezer in a single layer. If you try to be worried about perfection, this will drive you crazy and it will take you way too long. It's just green onions. So you want to lay it flat in a single layer. And then I will take this to the freezer and then do some more chopping. I'm going to pause in my slicing and dicing. You can see how much I've done, and I've done hardly anything. But it's been 15 minutes and that first batch has frozen. It's called flash freezing. Now you have to work quickly because if these thaw and then you freeze them again, it just doesn't work. They'll be all mushy and they'll stick together when they freeze. So I'll take quite a few and put them in here. And this is something that I saw online. People say that you can freeze them in here, and then when you want to use, you just shake them out into your recipe. I'm a little bit doubtful that will work, but let's give it a try anyway. And if any of you have any experience with this, let us know how it works for you. So you see how slow it is to fill these up. And as I'm filling it up, they're defrosting. And then they'll freeze stuck together. I'm just doubtful that this will work. See, if they defrost and freeze again, they'll freeze stuck together. Maybe if I had some other kind of, I don't know. This is not exciting to me. I do not think I would try this again because already I can feel them softening in my hand. So we're going to stop that. I don't want to lose them. The ones that I've already, yeah, they're softening already. They're going to freeze together. Oh. Put these in the freezer with this next batch. Keep going. Here's a recipe that you can make and enjoy your green onions now. If you're going to all the work to dice all these green onions up, you might as well have something for dinner this very night. This is a cheese dip that goes with crackers or raw veggies, and it's basically these items all mixed together. So some hot pepper sauce, a cup of cheese, a 1/4 cup of butter, a 1/3 cup of green onions. All of these green onions and all we're using is a 1/3 cup. This is sun-dried tomatoes in oil, and we need to chop those up smaller in this. 8 ounces of cream cheese, some mustard, and some milk. So I'm gonna chop up these sun-dried tomatoes first. Sun-dried tomatoes in oil, when they are in the refrigerator, the oil solidifies and it looks like yucky yellow fat. But that's not what it is. It's still good to eat. I would love it if I could use this cutter for my green onions. but it doesn't work. It just sends the green onions round and around in a circle. I think I'm supposed to put the butter and the cream cheese together first. There's some softened butter. And the cream cheese has been sitting out on the counter, so it's nice and soft. So these will mix together well. I'm using a fork. If I used a beater, like a hand mixer, it would just splatter everywhere. That's the problem with trying to mix cream cheese. It tends to just splatter, so you have to do it the old-fashioned way. Or you just clean up the splatters. Still some lumps of cream cheese in there, but those will go away as we keep adding things. So our cup of cheese. This is garden cheddar crock. I didn't have cheddar, I had Mexican cheese. So today it's garden Mexican cheese crock. Yeah. Either way, it's good. I'll do my dash hot pepper. Does the order matter? But I don't think so. 1 tablespoon of mustard. Sorry. Stop. There we go. That's better. 3 tablespoons of milk. Green onions. The whole reason for making this. 1/3 cup green onions. It is a warm day here, so this is nice and soft and mixing up very easily. On a colder day, this would be more difficult. All right, I'll transfer to my serving bowl. If I wanted, I could decorate it with more green onions on the outside once it sets up a bit. I think the serving bowl is too big. It would be more attractive if I had a smaller bowl and it was mounted up. But there it is. If you know In-N-Out hamburgers, that's a California thing. My teenage daughter calls this In-N-Out hamburger dip because it tastes very similar to the hamburger sauce at In-N-Out hamburger. Garden cheddar crock. Serve it with crackers or raw veggies. Jicama is good too. One use. Now this can't be frozen because it's cream cheese, and cream cheese cannot be frozen well. And then used raw. It can be frozen if it's put in a baked dish. All right, enjoy. All right, 2 hours later, let me show you how far I've gotten. We did this first. We made our green onion grills, and that's where we took the white part. And then all the rest of the white parts were in here, and so from there I diced up all the green ends. Now here is the shaker bottle that they suggested online. We'll try it out. They seem to be keeping apart, but I'll have to keep this carefully in the freezer. Then I have 4 trays that I had flash freezed of the green ends. And here they are. And I kept slicing the green ends of these green onions. And these have not been frozen. And these have not been frozen. Then I started on some onions that I hadn't yet used. So this is the whites. I flash froze the whites of several green onions. And I'm going to, misestimate. Darn. All right, let me get a bigger one really quick. Same thing, bigger size. Look at that. Let's take the label off. Green onion tops. Get the rest of these on. I have to work quickly with these green onions being out of the freezer. Every time somebody comes in the house, they say, "It smells like onions." Yes, it does, and it's going to continue for a while. I'm gonna get the cap and get those in the freezer. So, and then look what I still have left. Look what I still have left. So I promised you 3 recipes, 2 freezer meals and 1 that you could use right now. The 1 freezer meal was the grill green onions. The one you could use right now is the garden cheddar crock. But I'm gonna need a 3rd one because I just have too many. I mean, this is like a lifetime supply of green onions. So I'm going to do another freezer recipe where we use, again, the white parts of the green onions. So let me get these guys back in the freezer and I'll come back and I'll show you what we're going to do with these before we do our recipe with these. If you've ever been to a restaurant and they serve fried green beans, it's like an appetizer and they're really good dipped in ranch dressing. That's what we're going to do, only with more of these green onions. So it's basically, we're going to make a batter and then we're going to fry them. Now for freezer meals, you can make them in a batter and then you can freeze them, and then when you're ready to serve, fry them up. It wouldn't take very long, fry them straight from frozen. But I'd rather do all the work ahead of time so that when it's time to eat, I just pull them out of the freezer, warm them up in a toaster oven or my regular oven, and then we can eat. So I'm gonna fry them, make the batter, slice them and put them in with the batter, and then fry them and then lay them flat to freeze, just like we've done to all these tops. All right, so we'll do our dry ingredients first. We'll start with the biggest one. Take 3/4 cup of all-purpose flour. Now, if you have a favorite batter recipe for frying, go ahead and do it. That would be fine. This is all about finding what it is that your family will eat. And salt. It's 2 teaspoons of salt. cornstarch. This cornstarch will help the batter stick to the onions. I'm just going to do a 1/4 cup of cornstarch. I'll mix these dry ingredients together and then I'll put our seasoning in, the rest of our seasoning. We already have salt. Again, you're going to use what your family likes. This is cayenne pepper. I'll do a 1/2 teaspoon just to give it a little zip. And some garlic powder. Ooh, my garlic powder. We'll do a teaspoon of garlic powder. The garlic powder is getting kind of dry. Well, clumpy, I guess, is really what it's doing. But it's still fine. I'm going to make sure all of that whisks together well so that everything is dispersed, cornstarch and flour. All right, then we're going to add our egg. I'm going to pour it in with the milk first so that it whisks in a bit, and then I'll add the egg and the milk to our powder. Now some of these recipes, these frying recipes, have you dip the item to be fried in the liquid and then dip it in the powder. And sometimes they even have you do it a second time, dipping again in the liquid and then again in the powder to get a nice coating. We're going to try doing it just as a complete batter, mixing it together, almost like cake batter. Looks pretty good. Okay, now I need to slice up the rest, not the rest. You see how I kind of sorted them by size? So I did all the biggest ones first. So now we have the medium and the little ones. So I'm going to take all these medium-sized ones. Actually, these are probably normal. And I'm going to put them, going to cut them about this size. Remember, they have to fit on a plate normally. So that looks like about 5 inches. And then we'll put it in the batter. I need to get my compost, just a minute. And then the greens, I'll spend another hour or so dicing those up too. And I'll just put it right in the batter. You may be thinking to yourself, Tonya, what are you going to do with all these green beans? Why did you plant all these green onions? Well, I'm asking myself that same question too. My husband is asking me that question. Why did you plant all those green onions? Well, I'll tell you. In the garden, you want to be successful. You want to go out and see and admire all of your hard work, your bountiful harvest. And it just so happens that green onions grow pretty easily here. And a pack of seeds is maybe $3, $1.50. Actually, I don't even know how much a pack of seeds are. somewhere between $3 and $1.50. And then you can just sprinkle it. I use them as a border on the back edge of my garden. And they did, they grew. They grew without me caring for them, because remember, I'm a neglectful gardener. So there I have my green onions in the batter. I'm going to let them soak a little bit. I have to heat up the oil on the stove, and the oil has to be 375 degrees. Otherwise, it just won't get that nice crisp outside texture. So, I'm gonna make them get a little more covered with the batter. I'll go get the oil heating. Oh, we're at just under 300. It feels really hot. So I am tempted to start now, but you shouldn't. Don't. Wait until it's at 375. And then it's gonna splatter, so you need to be careful. So I'm gonna use this to move my onions back and forth so that I don't burn the back of my hand with splatters. Maybe you can see, but I've put foil down here. I tend to be messy, especially when frying, so I put foil so that I don't dribble the batter between the bowl and the hot oil. The best oil to fry with is peanut oil. I don't have peanut oil, so I'm using canola oil, and that's gonna be fine. If you have a deep fat fryer, all the better. Oh, almost there. All right, there's something I forgot. When you eat these guys, they're not like green beans where you can bite right through them with your teeth. They tend to be stringy, so you take a bite and the seasoned batter comes off in your hands and the whole onion slides out in your teeth. Turn this down. So what I should have done when I was cutting them is make a little bite area in between. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take my scissors and kind of like give them a little separation, not all the way through, twice. So it's still together, but it will separate easier when you bite it. It would be much easier to do this with a knife as I was cutting it, but I think I am tired of all these green beans, or green onions, and didn't think of that. Certainly cooking up nice and fast. What's my temperature? Oh my gosh. now that you've seen me at my best. Hot, sweaty, splattered with oil, setting off the fire alarm, tired of these green onions. Tired of these green onions. Let's get the last recipe done, okay? Hang in there with me, please. All right, we're going to make green onion pancakes. So they're not going to get fluffy like pancakes. It's not like a pancake with green onions. It's more like a tortilla with green onions in the tortilla batter. So that's what we're going to be doing. So we'll start off with, not the sugar, we'll start off with the flour. And we'll put 3 cups of flour in a bowl. Flour. I'll do my dry ingredients first so I can whisk them together. I'll do 2 teaspoons of sugar. A teaspoon of onion salt. Eighth of a teaspoon of pepper. Then we're going to add the hot water, so I'll just whisk this together to mix all the seasonings. Whisk it for longer than you think, even if you're tired, because it really makes a difference if all the seasonings are spread out properly, evenly dispersed. So this is going to make the dough that we're going to make our little tortillas out of. I think that's a better name for them, green onion tortillas instead of green onion pancakes. These make a good side dish for anything, really. All right, I'm going to let that cool so that I can roll them and pat them flat. And this batter will make 16 green onion tortillas. No, the green onion pancakes, that's what the recipe calls them. I'll stick to that. So I'm going to set that aside, let that cool a bit. Now the green onions, you know my green onions were a little bit large. Isn't that fun? Look, I can even. Oh, it's a ring. How pretty, how lovely. So for this, I need to make them smaller, so I'm going to use my favorite handy chopper thing. I need 1 teaspoon for each, and this makes 16. So 16 teaspoons, well, gosh, I hope I have enough. So I'm just estimating. I'll just throw in a couple handfuls. The recipe says 1 bunch of green onions. So you know at the store, that actually your bunch is almost that big. So I'll do that much. We can always do more because I've got plenty. So I need to chop these up finer. Now I need to roll it out and I need to heat up my griddle. All right, my griddle is nice and hot. My batter is getting a little bit cooler. So I'm going to add the green onions to the batter. This will be a nice seasoning. For these little pancake thingies. That's a lot, but that's what it's for. Okay, we'll mix it in. Oh my goodness, these would be so good with salsa and just smelling the onions, even after I've been smelling the onions for so long. Still kind of makes me feel like eating something with onions in it. All right, hot griddle, hot me. I'm gonna use an ice cream scoop, I think. See if that works well. We get some spray on the griddle. So if you wanted to, you could plop these into discs like this and freeze them. Just freeze them just like this. And then when you're ready to make dinner, pull them out of the freezer, and from the freezer, put them right on the griddle or a big saucepan. You know, a big pan on the stove, that's fine too. You don't have to have a griddle. But, and then you can have them hot and fresh that way. I prefer to have my freezer meals done, so all I have to do is heat them up. It's fun, you can see them cooking. I wonder if you can see that. You can see where it's like moist looking, and then where it's white. And nope, not ready yet. Lightly brown. I'm going to flip this guy. Oh, look at that. Squish them a little thinner. So remember, if you don't have a griddle, you can still do this. You just do it in a big flat pan on the stove. This guy's trying to run away. All right, and then I'll move these off to a cooling rack and get the last batch done. Then I'll place it on a flat pan in the freezer till they freeze. And then put them in the storage container. I don't think I'll get 16 out of this. Looks like maybe I should have made them smaller. I ended up with 10. That's okay. I want to show you our fried green onions, how they turned out. They are flash frozen in the freezer, and well, you know, they're not pretty like at the restaurant, but I think they'll taste really good. In fact, I know because I already ate one before putting it in the freezer. So I can now put them in my container. I've labeled it. It says fried green onions, do not thaw, bake 350 degrees for 15 minutes. So that's an easy addition to a fun dinner. I'll do the same for the little tortillas, the little green onion tortillas. and then put them in a container to freeze. But look, I still have green onions left. It's too bad we're not neighbors, so I can pass them on to you. My name is Tonya. Thanks for watching, and I hope you learned something, and I hope you try it out yourself at home. If you're interested in more information about making freezer meals for your family, go ahead and click below. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Joy Lab. Learning done right.
Learn more with Joy Lab. Like, subscribe, comment, share. Visit us at www.joylab.biz. Thank you.